Okay, so we have Bonnie Yates with us. She is a special education attorney with a law firm of Tollner Law Offices, and we just adore the ground that she walks on. She's an amazing person, an amazing woman, amazing attorney. I know she's like, stop already, but it's all true, an amazing mom. So, Bonnie, welcome back to Autism Live.
Oops, I guess that's my cue to talk. Sorry about that.
Well, I just
What I
want
was
to know.
actually thinking about was, I think it's harder to be a mom than any of those other jobs I've had, and I know dads and moms now are really learning, exactly how strong they are because they're doing things that they thought if you told anybody we'd be doing these things, they'd be like, what? So we had a bunch of questions that came in
And a
and
new
I
one
wanted to
today.
read them. And then I've got backup information, including sexuality, predetermination, and prior written notice.
Ooh.
We can do a lot of stuff. And I'm supposed to have said that I work for Tollner Law Offices. We're an 8-attorney firm in San Jose. You can find us on the web. If you want a free consultation and you're in California, Arizona, or Nevada, we can do that for you. If you're in any of the other 50 states, I recommend that you have a specific conversation with a specific attorney about your specific problem. What we're doing here is trying to educate you on your legal rights under the IDEA, but it's not always a substitute for actually a really focused conversation in which we would actually look at documents also. The documents are a big deal. So just know that when we're answering questions, oftentimes it's with abbreviated facts, not knowing what state you're in, not knowing what age your child is. So I guess to that end, when you do write questions in and it's relevant, if you can tell us those things, it might help us give you a little better answer. So now I'm going to read the questions.
Okay, and we had one that just came in that I want to try to get to as well.
Well, you're the boss.
Has your name written all over
it.
Okay, so the first one, thank you for all you do. This is such a, and this, they said specifically, this is for Bonnie, and they said, thank you for all you do. This is such a great resource. I have a question about OT. Normally, my son has a pullout for OT. He goes into a room full of equipment and he has the opportunity to do big muscle things. This is for his sensory regulation. For 2 years, they have been telling me he has to have this pullout and it has to be to work the big muscles. I wanted a push in. Nope, they won't. That won't get it done. He won't be able to focus. Now we are doing school at home, and suddenly they want to tell me he doesn't need it. Based on what? COVID, I guess. The OT person comes on the screen and she has him do handwriting. And really, it's me doing it with him. I said, what happened to all the big movements? And they don't have an answer.
Well, there's been a lot of discussion about whether you could stay put prior services during COVID, and the cases have been going in not a consistent direction. Some yes, some no. Did it specify in your IEP anywhere? I wonder that this was like, for gross motor, it was supposed to be clinically based. It was supposed to be push. It was not supposed to be push in. It was supposed to be for large muscle groups. It would be interesting to know if any of that would work. If any of that was in your IEP, so it's really clear what the service is, you might be able to do a motion for stay put and get them to implement the IEP as it's supposed to be implemented. I'm wondering if they're going to say there's no way they can do the clinical occupational therapy, because I think this person said she's in California. If that's the case, the Norris case, which I circulated a few weeks ago, said if it's necessary to provide FAPE and the district can't do it with its own staff, that's what non-public agencies are for. So they could certainly pay for clinical occupational therapy from a non-public provider if they don't have the ability to do it, in-house on their own. It probably behooves you to write them a letter and tell them that you were consulting with an attorney and the attorney didn't seem to have the same view as the school district did about why the change in the OT service delivery was permissible, even though that's not what he was getting before, and tell them that you would like to have an IEP meeting with them and you hope you can work it out. Now, if you can't work it out, you've got more than one option, and maybe we could talk about that in a separate show. But specifically, your options would be file for due process and move for stay put, or you could do a complaint to the California Department of Education saying that they aren't implementing your child's IEP properly, and CDE will get involved, and if they find things are wrong, they will order corrective action. And I do want to say that I feel like one of the bright spots in the last few months is that CDE has been staying on top of districts. I've involved them over issues of IEEs, of district refusing to hold an IEP, even though the assessments had been conducted. That was back in April. Um, and so districts don't like compliance complaints. They don't like the state coming down and sort of poking around in their business. So that might be the most cost effective way for you to do it. You could also do what's called a uniform complaint, which just goes to the superintendent of your school. I just think those tend to be unproductive. Usually, a lot of the time, it just ends up being a rubber stamp of what was done below. But those are some options for you. And I don't think, as Shannon said, there hasn't been any showing that that there was a reason, a clinical reason why the services changed. We understand that the services have changed because the district doesn't know how to deliver them anymore, but that's not adequate.
Yeah. I guess, I'm with you on what is in the IEP because even for OT, they have, goals that your child has. And if there are goals in there about those big muscle, things, then that's like you said, Bonnie. I mean, that's where you start and stop. I'm just wondering. So you have an
Yeah, that's a
IEP.
very good point, and one that I didn't think of, which is why it's nice to have you as my backup.
You taught me well. I learn at the feet of the master. But here's my question for you though that I don't know that I know the answer to. So you have your IEP and you have your goals, and if they haven't X those goals out at the end of the year, you start the year with those goals until you do a new IEP,
Well, then
right?
they haven't offered FAPE in that area. If you don't meet the goals, then they haven't offered FAPE.
So there we are, because it seems like that's the easiest path to pull out your IEP and go, why in OT we have these three goals and I haven't seen the person work on that. And maybe they should be videotaping it to say, it's been 3 weeks and never once has she worked on this big muscle group. I don't know. You're the lawyer. Tell me.
Well, we just don't know what the IEP says, what the goals say, what the baselines were, whether
Yeah.
the child has regressed during COVID and comp ed is owed, but we sort of presume that it is.
But
So,
I guess my question is, they can't just decide without an IEP to implement new goals or different goals that were in the IEP just because summer happened, correct?
well, the distance learning plan is the way they implement the IEP during school closure. But that to
Okay.
me doesn't mean different goals or a different service. Certainly, if it were to have been a different service, like, oh, okay, the best we can do now is fine motor, if you change that without an IEP, it's a change of placement without parental notice or participation. So I don't think they're right about it. My feeling about it is just, hey, they're trying to see whether it'll fly or not.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. So pull out your IEP, take a look, and then if you want to, write us back. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.